Hello everyone, this is Swagrid, and today I want to give you an overview of a simple, efficient, unique, and intuitive beginner's method called 2Layer, because while it is technically a layer by layer method, it solves the first two layers at the same time. There's a bit more thought that goes into this method, but as long as you're capable of explaining and the beginner you're teaching it to is capable of thought, you should be able to do just fine. The method itself is built into 4 main steps. I don't really like naming the steps, I'd rather just explain what we're doing at each point and let the beginner sort of memorize it themselves. But if I had to give names to them all, you have majority layers, x-axis filtering, first and second layer, and third layer. And don't be afraid by x-axis filtering, it's a little bit weird, a little bit vague, but it's simple enough to teach. We'll get there when we get there, and I'll show you how to do it then. But for now, let's just start with a scramble. And this method is quite new. I've been working up with a few people and we all do it slightly differently, so there's no like set way to go about it, but I'll show you how I do it at least. So this is 2Layer as done by Swagrid. And of course the first step is majority layers, where you just solve the majority of 2 different layers. I don't teach any particular color first, I just pick whichever one happens to be on the bottom of the cube when I'm done, because I scrambled in WSA orientation, that's yellow this time. And this is a bit where it kind of varies a little bit, you know, different people teach slightly different things and it changes the filtering step later on. I personally just like to leave the whole R layer free when I'm building the majority layers. So you'll build full layers apart from the R layer, because it just makes it very easy to not mess up. Of course, beginners, you know, they have no preference or no thoughts against certain moves, like a CFOP doesn't typically come up with solutions that have stuff like E moves in them, because that would break the relationship between the cross edges and the centers, which would effectively break the cross. But beginners, they don't know about that, so they don't really care. So that's a freedom that we kind of take advantage of here. We do a lot of weird, you know, UI moves, that's fine. The next step in the method anyway is just to start solving the other layer. So you do one on bottom, you do a majority layer on top. It's that simple. The method just continues like this until you have the next majority layer done. Hang on, trying to come up with the best way to do it myself. Of course, you know, intuitive, it'll be like that, and your beginner will end up doing quite a lot of that themselves. So now we have the majority layers. And the next step is x-axis filtering, which is split into 3 sub-steps. You have the first filter, the second filter, and the edge filter. So what we're searching for here is we want to make every sticker on the x-axis be a color that belongs on the x-axis, which here in this case that's red, white, orange, and yellow. Here of course a lot of stickers aren't, like we have all these blue ones, so we're going to handle those and we're going to start out with just the corners. So the first step, the first filter, only has one algorithm. You'll get used to the patterns you're looking for when it comes to, you know, which stickers are and aren't x-axis. This isn't the full tutorial, so I won't cover that now. I'll just show you. This is the algorithm that you do, and that's what allows you to filter out and have all these corner stickers here be X-layer stickers. But you know, naturally, you know, we're cubers, we're incredibly racist, we love separating colors. This isn't enough. This isn't enough. You see, this here is good. We have 2 reds, but here we have a yellow with an orange, and that's unacceptable. We need to put the yellow with the yellow and the orange with the orange. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the pair of corners that you already have, and if you don't have one, just do the algorithm that I'll put on screen in a second. Just do that anyway, because it will give you a pair which you can then, you know, put on top and do the algorithm again. The algorithm, again, pair on top, looks like this. And now you can see reds with red, whites with white, orange with orange, yellow with yellow, and we can, you know, put these back. We can put these into the layers, and we're getting closer and closer to having these 2 layers solved. Although I don't want you to think of these as being connected to the layers themselves yet, because we're going to do a lot of things that involve switching edges with R2, which will, you know, break these layers, so don't think of this as being solved yet. So that is the primary filter done, and the secondary filter. Of course, the primary was the one with the first algorithm, the secondary was the one with the second algorithm. So now we have to do the edge filter. So let's take a look what stickers that are in these orbits here, that is this row of stickers, and the same on the left side of this row of stickers, don't have colors that belong in the x-axis. This is fine because this is white, this is bad because it's blue, This is fine because it's red, and this is bad because it's blue, and this is bad because it's green, and green isn't in the x-axis either. If we look at this one, yeah, that's blue, so that's bad as well. So the way that we want to filter this is we want to have one non-x-axis color here, and 3 of them over here. So we can do this because we have 1 here and 2 here by switching them around with an E2, like so. Now, when we look at this, we have 1 x-axis here and 1, 2, 3 here, which is perfect. We want them aligned in this shape here. I call it the funnel because it's like 3 that funnels down into here. And then we're going to do E-move here to bring them up, switch them over, and put them back. And let's fix the E-slice while we're at it. We don't have to, but it just makes it a lot easier for some people to follow, so let's do that. Alright, and that is x-axis filtering done. So we've now done the first 2 steps, majority layers and x-axis filtering. All there is left to do is first and second layer, and third layer. So how are we going to do this? Well, to solve the first and second layer, I'm going to think of these holes in the layers here as slots that we can bring up and down. What we need to do is put the edges that belong in those slots, this one here to here, and this one here to here. Although, there is a bit of a problem with that. It's quite difficult to solve an edge into its slot if the other edge is already solved in its slot. So they need to be solved at the same time, and this is when we introduce R2 swapping. You see, a nice quirk of x-axis filtering is that R2 becomes an incredibly useful asset to swap edges around and move them around the cube. We're going to use it for all 3 layers. All you have to do is not disturb up and down while you're doing it, and you can just use these R2 swaps like they're nothing. And we're primarily going to use them to swap front right with back right. And since it's difficult to put one edge in its slot when the other one's in there, they need to both be solved at the same time, which means we need them both waiting on the left side to put them in on the right side. So since this one's here, what we need to do is switch this edge with this edge. We can't switch across the front, we can switch these 2 however, so we bring them over here, do an R2 to swap them, and then we bring them back. Now what we do is we align the slots so that when we do an E2, we solve the edges into their slots, so basically these need to be opposite here. And E2, and when we do this, we have our first 2 layers completely solved. First layer and second layer, all done just like that. That's it, and that's the cool iconic step of the method. Now the remaining step is third layer, which is of course this one running around here. Now you can challenge your beginner here with your knowledge of R2 swaps, and if you just imagine them as only swapping front right and back right, what swaps can we do that would solve the cube from here? And eventually they'll put some thought into it and they'll realise you can do this over here. If you swap this into the back, these 2 will be solved, meaning you just need to swap these 2. So you can do another swap like that and you'll be like, oh yeah, well done, you're smart, you got it right. So you do here and E, R2, E, R2, and the cube is solved. When I put it like that, it sounds a bit jargony and a bit complicated, but if you take it simple, you don't throw the jargon at them. I mean, I'm only putting it here because this video is aimed towards people who already know how to solve. Then it can be a really intuitive and simple method. You just explain what you're doing, tell them how to do it, and sooner or later they'll remember how to do it. But I think because of how efficient it is and how unique it is, it really does have some potential as a beginner's method. Alright, well I'll see you all in the next one when I make a full tutorial for this.